Welcome back, everybody. Matt the Bat here. And today is a little bit of a different podcast. This is the 22nd anniversary of 9/11, September 11th, 2001. I can't believe it's been 22 years. Kind of scary, just like that day. It was very scary for everybody here in the U.S. and really all over the world. Nobody knew at that moment when that plane hit the first tower, was it a terrorist attack? Was it just an accident? At first nobody knew. It was one of those things that nobody knew. And just like so many people, we all have our stories, where we were that moment, where we were that day. I was in middle school, 6th grade. I still remember my teacher, first period. Normally a very happy, very lively teacher, even at 8 something in the morning, coming into class and being completely silent. And I mean, as if someone died. I mean, that's like major. And at that point, I don't know if the second building was hit yet. Because either we didn't turn on the news at our school. So really until I got home, did I really find out what was going on. I remember being in middle school, 6th grade, and my teacher just came in, sat down right in front of the class, and didn't say a word. Not one word. And I was thinking at that point, we were all like, what's going on? Like, really, what's going on? And then going into lunch period, completely silent. It was not like we all got in trouble when we were having silent lunch. It was just silence. And then, of course, once the second tower got hit, everything changed. It was finally a moment of, oh, this is not an accident. And then once the towers went down, and even by that point, nobody knew what was going to happen next. Nobody knew, are we about to go to war? Is this it? World War III is about to start today. 9/11, 9/11. I'm still very curious why they picked that date of all dates. 9/11. They knew a lot of people were going to be calling 911. I don't know. Makes you wonder. But honestly, from that horrific day, I'm still watching videos that I had no idea that people got footage of. I just watched a video where they showed a woman on top of the tower after it got hit on the tower. And then moments later, before it started going down, someone has that footage. And I was just, horror. It's a horror film. I was watching another one where a cop, just looked up and the second plane hit the tower. I mean, the view, I was just like, that is just horror-inducing. But not only that, I'm here, I was doing a movie podcast. We got movies here. After 9/11, the whole landscape of movies changed. We call it the post-9/11 Hollywood landscape, where even films like the first Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, which was already done, already in the can, coming out just a couple months later, that December, you went and saw that movie, and you had this feeling of good versus evil. And now, of course, the Lord of the Rings books were written during, I think, World War II or after World War II. So it definitely has that good versus evil feel already. But just coming off of a couple months after 9/11, it made all the difference in the world. Even Harry Potter, the first Harry Potter film, came out just a couple months, 2 months after 9/11. It made all the difference in the world. Good versus evil. Wizards versus Voldemort. Uh, you look at even the first comic book movie to come out post 9/11, the first Spider-Man film in May of 2002 with Tobey Maguire. That movie made over 114 million opening weekend in just 3 days. At the time, that was the biggest opening weekend to a movie ever. Ever. And we look at that, we go, because people were in the mood to see good defeat evil. That's all it was. Not to mention Spider-Man was set in New York, so that really had a major influence. Just like that scene on the bridge in Spider-Man when, a fellow New Yorker throws the stuff at the Goblin. You mess with New York, you mess with all of us. So it was one of those moments of, just like George W. Bush said, you come for us, you come for one of us, that's like coming for all of us. Now we're coming for you. But it wasn't just those movies. You look at post 9/11 movies like the Bourne films with Matt Damon. You look at The Dark Knight, Christian Bale, Batman, Heath Ledger's Joker was pretty much a terrorist. All he wants to do is see the world burn. His little story to Harvey Dent. A truck full of soldiers blows up. Nobody cares. It was very much a someone who. That's why I still think the Joker origin is really he was one of those soldiers post 9/11, went to war, Iraq, got blown up, survived, came home, and didn't get the recognition that he deserved for fighting a war. But the Batman is getting all the recognition, so he decided to go on a killing spree, like we see in The Dark Knight. And that's very much a post 9/11 feel. Dread, horror. You don't know what's going to happen next. He's unpredictable. Like 9/11, no one predicted that. That was one of those. Did that really happen? On our soil? And look at the movie like World Trade Center. I put both of these movies up here because these are basically the representation of that time period. World Trade Center, the day of 9/11. Zero Dark 30, the movie that led to finally hunting down Osama bin Laden and killing him. The end of all of this, And that happened in 2011, right? They killed Osama in 2011. So it's exactly 10 years later. A 10-year gap. And it's just, you look at both of these movies. Nicolas Cage and Michael Pena in an Oliver Stone film. And you look at Zero Dark 30 with Jessica Chastain. You had like Jason Clarke in there. You had Chris Pratt. You had, so many other actors in that movie. And I think you look at the Bourne film, you look at the Batman, you even look at Man of Steel, the opening of Batman v Superman, with the fight with Zod, and how the building's coming down, and all the soot and the debris, like 9/11. See Bruce Wayne Ben Affleck running in to save people, coming out with all white and all soot all over him. Very much a look of 9/11. And like then, during that time, we saw the rise of, war movies like Jarhead, Jake Gyllenhaal, The Hurt Locker with Jeremy Renner. So many other post 9/11 movies. And that's why we also saw the rise in comic book movies and fantasy, like the Harry Potters, like the Lord of the Rings. Like this, then you had superhero films, you had Spider-Man, you had X-Men, you had the Daredevils, you had the Hulk, you had Batman Begins. People wanted to see the good guy win, no matter what. It doesn't matter. And that's what we got. Then you had movies that got pushed back. James Cameron talked about he was going to make another True Lies. True Lies 2 with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Well, then they canceled the movie because it revolved around a terrorist attack. And they're like, no, we can't do that movie now. We can't show the bad guy winning. Obviously, by the end of the movie, the good guys would have won. But at the time, we could not do that. Just like the other Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, Collateral Damage, that was going to come out later that month, when they pushed it all the way to February of 2002. I know, I saw it in the theater. And that revolved around a firefighter, and there was a terrorist attack that killed his family, and he was a firefighter, and he helped the government, or whoever, go after the terrorists. But they could not release that movie in September of 2001. So you see this landscape that so many political movies, so many movies dealing with the war. I still remember even in 7th grade, we were literally watching in social studies the Iraq War as it went on during the day. Our teacher would put it on. It was just something we were so, in a way, we were all living in fear. That's why we also got the Matrix movies in 2003. Good versus Evil, Neo, The One, Superman Returns. We saw an influx of comic book movies. It's funny how people complain now we have so many comic book movies. But back then we had a lot of comic book movies. Because people wanted to see good versus evil. We wanted to watch those fantasy movies. Like The Lord of the Rings. Frodo winning, taking down Saruman. Harry Potter defeating Voldemort. It's funny. The Harry Potter movie started in 2001. They ended in 2011. The same year that 9/11 happened. And then the same year that we finally got Osama bin Laden. Those are when the Harry Potter movies came out. All in those 10 years. Look at a show like Smallville. Ran for 10 years. 2001 to 2011. During the time of 9/11. It was just interesting to think about that stuff. We had so many political movies. Not really political, but war films. The other Matt Damon film, Green Zone, was another one. Michael Clayton with George Clooney. Syria with George Clooney. We had a lot of war films during that time. We just got one this year with Jake Gyllenhaal, The Covenant. You look at the movie with Bradley Cooper, American Sniper. He went into the war after 9/11 happened. So you look at all these movies, and you see how they all had an effect during the time. And it's just, it was a very interesting time in Hollywood. The biggest thing at the time was war movies, comic book movies, and fantasy movies. Those were the three things that were running the industry. If you said, I want to make a war movie, greenlit. You said, I want to make a comic book movie, greenlit. You said you want to make a, fantasy film, greenlit. As long as good versus evil. And good wins at the end. And like I said, these are very good movies up here. Oliver Stone's World Trade Center. Highly recommend it. A really good performance by both Nicolas Cage and Michael Pena. Zero Dark Thirty got Jessica Chastain her Oscar nomination that year. Catherine Bigelow directed that film. Very good movie. So, now on this day, September 11th, I was thinking about the day itself, what it means, what happened that day. It's almost scary to think that there are people that weren't even alive yet at that time. There are people that still don't really know the impact of that day. I mean, that's truly amazing. But, yeah, the Hollywood landscape was very different back then. I mean, and someday, maybe it was good because we got some great movies during those years. We got some great comic book movies, like X-Men, like Spider-Man, like Batman. We got some great war movies, Jarhead. And like I said, Zero Dark 30. We got some great fantasy movies, the Harry Potter movies, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And like I said, Lord of the Rings was a product of just coming out at that perfect time. People want to see good versus evil, and good conquer evil. Even the Star Wars movies, the prequels, maybe not the first one, because it came out in '99, but you look at Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. Especially Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3. And that very, very much really felt like a post 9/11 movie. That line from Anakin, if you're not with me, then you're my enemy. I mean, that was very much a political message. And then, and even like by the end of that movie, you had evil rising just like with Al-Qaeda in Iraq. They won. They won. They took down 2 towers and the Pentagon and all that. And Flight 93, which is also a good movie from Paul Greengrass. But at the end of Revenge of the Sith, what happened? There was hope. Luke and Leia were born. So, it was still almost showing, yes, there's evil, but there's also hope rising. So I said even the prequels, Star Wars prequels, they made a lot of money. And guess what? They were also very much a product of the post 9/11 time. So those are another thing that was going on. And the Star Wars prequels that had a little influence of, 9/11. Well, like I said, it was just a very interesting time in Hollywood. But yeah, let me know, do you remember those times during 9/11? Where Hollywood was at the time? The movies that were being greenlit, the movies that were making the money at the time. Let me know in the comments below. Matt and the Brad here.